Good morning, everyone. You should be able to see the screen that's being shared that says FY 2026 Spot Check Overview. Oh, perfect. Yes. So we're just going to give it a couple of minutes to let folks kind of get in. Good morning, Dustin. Good morning, Seth. Thank you guys for joining us this morning. Just giving folks one other minute to see who pops on. All right. Thank you guys for joining in. Good morning. You are here for the Spot Check webinar. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Shelby just whenever she is ready to start. Thank you guys for joining. And if you have any questions for the cost share team or Shelby, please feel free to put those items in the chat. I and John Beck will be monitoring that for you. But yeah, thank you for being here. Shelby, it is yours whenever you're ready.
Great. Hi. I think most of you know who I am, but I'm Shelby Kaplan. I'm a cost share specialist with the division, and I'll be doing all the spot checks this year. So this is mostly just going to be an overview. If some of you went to the update meeting, so it would be pretty similar, but this is what we're going to do today. So we're just going to go over the policy briefly and then give some examples of common BMPs we generally find out of compliance or needing maintenance. There was one updated form change, so we'll just give you an idea of what that is. And then John will be speaking briefly about the new spot check tools and the contract selection tools. And then if you guys want to stay or not, it's up to you. After we have a open question section, we'll be going over the form site, just looking at it online. So, and letting you navigate towards or to the website, things like that. So this is just a overview and screenshot of the policy within the rules. So the most important thing is that all of these are due by June 1st, not the 30th, the 1st. So just making sure you get those all in and uploaded to FormSite by then. And you have to check at least 5% of all active contracts per program. So that means 5% of cost share, 5% of AGRAP, and 5% of CCAP. It's not 5% of total. And this is just, again, a brief overview of the requirements for spot checks. So going into more detail, it's 5% of contracts per program randomly selected, but that's in addition to 5% of all waste management systems and all ponds basically have to be checked, as well as water collection systems, and 5% of all nutrient management contracts. This is also listed at the top of the form site and in rules. So if you ever need to refer back to it, it's there. And just going over that, it's important to note that if you select a waste management system project within your random 5% of all contracts, you still have to select 5% of waste management systems. So that's additionally to the random selection. And then making sure that any contract that is an employee of the state would need to be checked a year within implementation by a third party, so like NRCS or division representative. And you need at least one supervisor on every spot check. If there isn't a supervisor there, it doesn't count as a spot check. So that's really important. And then again, just a reminder that it's due by the 1st. So this is just basically laying out the types of compliance and maintenance that you might see or need to refer back to the definitions for. So an in compliance practice would mean it's functioning properly, being used for its intended purpose, and basically doesn't need any maintenance or anything like that at all. If it's not being used and it's still there and maintained, it's considered in compliance. And then maintenance needed in compliance would be basically routine maintenance. So if you have a heavy use area that needs gravel, you would say that's maintenance and not out of compliance. Or if something needs to be reseeded, that's also a maintenance issue. And the cooperator has time to reestablish the practice. Out of compliance means that it's not functioning properly or it's being used for a different purpose or it was destroyed. So if you're using a well and it ends up hooked to your house, that is considered out of compliance. If something gets wiped out and it's not at the fault of the cooperator, it's considered out of compliance, but they could do a repair contract, for example. So these are just some of the common practices we generally see. Last year was kind of a special situation because of Helene. So we saw a lot of ag road repairs that were destroyed, but that was because of the storm. So I didn't include it on this list. But these are the ones we generally see. So for example, cropland conversion, if there's bare spots in the field, things like that, they would need to be rechecked and reseeded. And vegetative practices have a slightly longer timeline for that. So you would be able to establish a good stand of grass. And then another one is ponds. We see that these generally need a lot of maintenance, and a lot of the time, these are the ones that are seen as needing maintenance through spot checks because they are also required to be checked a lot more. So that would mean mowing, if beaver dams are present, things like that. We also see like erosion on spillways. So just making sure you note that and get that corrected. And then we also see grass waterways. This is mostly just reseeding and stabilizing the slopes and stuff like that. So pretty common. And these are a couple, the next two slides are just going to be examples of maintenance and compliance. So this is an example of a heavy use area on the left of my screen that shows you that there's basically no gravel present. So you would say this one definitely needs maintenance. And if the cooperator doesn't continue to maintain the practice, it will become out of compliance. On the right, you can see there's gravel. So you might need to add some more, but that one's looking better. So these are some vegetative examples. On the left is just a bare spot in the field. So you would want to make sure to reseed that and get it corrected within the year. And then on the right, clearly the field has been destroyed and planted in a row crop. So that would be completely out of compliance and you cannot even bring the practice back to its original form. So the cooperator would be expected to pay back the funds for that one. This section is just on the form changes I spoke about a little earlier. It's basically the exact same form. We just added a question on if it's a supervisor contract or not. And we're going to go to the form site, like I said, after the question section. So if you all want to stay for that, we'll navigate to the website and then go briefly over the form itself. The only additional spot check requirement that's new this year is the use exclusion fencing. So that'll be annually during the 10-year maintenance period if you have one of those contracts. And now John will take it away.
Okay. Scoot over. So, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, everybody. For some of you that have already been to the division update meeting, you've had a preview of these. For those of you that haven't, this is your kind of opportunity to see some of the new things that we have going on. So Stephen Borson, our GIS specialist who primarily works with STRAP, has been working on some new tools. And this particular one is intended to be just kind of an assistance thing. It's optional if you would like to use it in the field, is in place of doing like a paper copy or trying to fill out the form site form in the field. It's a survey 1, 2, 3. So if you've used those before, it works very similarly. It can work offline. But essentially what it does is it lets you go to each site and fill in the required information for your spot check form, and you can attach a photo, and then it will email that to you. So you can do one per site. It'll send all the into your email so you can save it and then transfer it to your form site form. This is kind of what it'll look like. I can go over there. Okay, so the one with the green header is what the form site form looks like. So it's pretty simple. It's just kind of the basic contract requirements, and it'll have some drop-down selections to fill in the determination on that spot check, and then it'll send it to you in this format where you have kind of the question and answer. So the who, what, when, where, and what happened. And then it's kind of hard to see, but this part down here is just a photo. That one was just taken at his desk, but it'll attach the photo there as well. So it'll kind of preserve your record of the site visit.
Hey, John, can you remind me real quick, if we do the survey 1, 2, 3 form, do we still have to do the other one too?
Yeah, the form site form is the official one. This is just an additional tool if you find it helpful. So this one's just going to go to you. You would have to put the information in the full all together in one form site form.
All right, thanks.
So yep. Okay, and then another tool that we've been working on is a contract selection tool. So like Shelby went over all those slides at the beginning, and there's a lot of things to consider, and there's a lot of tracking that needs to be done, and finding some of that stuff can be difficult, and kind of to make sure that we are doing the spot checks that we're supposed to be doing to meet the commission's requirements. So what we've been trying to work on is a tool, basically a report that will be generated from CS2 that will essentially do every district selection for them. This is an optional tool at this point. It is in draft form for now, and we're obviously in a testing phase. But it's supposed to just be an additional thing that can be helpful for you and kind of give you the list without having for you to track everything down. So it runs a formula in the background. It pulls the data from CS2, but there's a few things that it doesn't do. So one thing that CS2 doesn't have is staff contracts. And so if you have any staff contracts, you would need to add those manually. It does filter out permitted operations from the waste management type BMPs. So the 5% of those is only for non-permitted operations, and so it does, just to confirm, it filters those out, so it won't over select for you. And then for the road repairs, which are every other year, it basically from when that roads were installed, so that payment date in CS2, it goes every even year after that. So it'll skip a year and it'll pull those contracts that way. So we do have this available. It is not published yet, but word is that it will be available in CS2 soon. But you may be doing your spot checks now, and if you would like to see your county's list, we're more than happy to pull that and share it to you. So if you want to get a copy of it, and we would love for you to have it and report back to us how it worked for you, and let us know of any issues so we can work on creating that and improving it and making sure it works well for everybody. So just contact me or Steven and we'll get you that list. And otherwise, if you do need assistance, just contact your specialist or somebody here, and we can kind of help you sort through your contract list too.
Are you willing to define soon any further?
I am not willing to vouch for our IT department in any way, but
in the next month, couple weeks.
I think it will be, yeah, on the sooner horizon, probably maybe in a month or so. But if you want to see it now, like we can get it to you right away. Steven can pull it. It's just not published yet because they're working on some other updates.
Right, I appreciate that.
Yeah. But we can, if you want it, we can get it to you within a maybe same day or within a day. But just do make sure you check it and make sure it's correct. And if it is incorrect, please let us know. Just to give you an idea, this is what it'll look like. So it's similar to other reports. If you've seen them come out of CS2, it'll be like a spreadsheet. So you just select your year and the county, and it'll pull it, and it'll give you contract number, the basic information, the type of contract, the program, the payment date that we have in the system. So that would be kind of the start date that we go by, and the BMPs, the life, and then a little bit of location data that was put in with a contract. So it kind of gives you everything you need there to plan out your site visits. And you can print that as an Excel file or a PDF or something like that. So you'll be able to print it and save it too. And I think that's it. So at this point, we can enter the question phase. And then after questions, we'll stay on and we can pull up any of those, the new submission form. We can go over anything related to the forms or any other things that anybody might need. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or I think maybe Brandy will call on people in the order, or we can do it however works best.
It looks like we might have a question. Spencer, did you want to come off mute?
Yeah. So this is a question that came up earlier this week, and I thought I had figured it out, but I just want some clarification here. I had a phone call coming out. I missed the portion that would have been helpful to me, I think. For exclusion fence, I said, I think this is a repeat, but is there an annual spot check requirement for exclusion fence, or is it specifically the use fence BMP? And is that use fence BMP specific to like the flash grazing type deal? That makes sense.
Yeah, it's just the use exclusion. Sorry, you might want to know.
Yeah, livestock exclusion fencing is, there's no additional spot check. The use exclusion system fencing, if that particular BMP was contracted and paid for, where the flash grazing is involved, then that one does have it. So there is a difference there.
Okay, that's what I was hoping it was, and that's what we had kind of come to a conclusion on this end earlier, but that kind of scared me a little bit that we were going to all of a sudden have to double the amount of spot checks we're going to do. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We have another hand raised. Gary, would you like to come off mute and ask your question or comment?
Yeah, this is for John.
Go ahead.
The last part of your presentation, you were talking about spot checks. Are y'all just pulling the 5%, or are you pulling all the active contracts?
So the 5% in that the selection is active contracts. So it's 5% of active overall.
So y'all just taking the actives and getting 5% of them and just,
Well, so our tool, we do it by program. So it's 5% of active ACSP, 5% of active AgRap, and 5% of active CAP.
okay.
And that's the requirement.
Yeah, that's that's like the baseline requirement. And then so you pull 5%, and then the additional ones go on top of that. So let's say you had 4 ponds that you're supposed to look at every year. If you happen to select one of those ponds in your 5%, that's fine, but you still need to select the other 3 on top of it. They're still required.
All right.
Hey,
Are there,
John,
someone was off mute.
it's me, Matt and Gates Hertford. Probably already know the answer to this. And Gary may have been trying to ask the tool that he was showing. It was just showing what selected 5%. Is there any way to get this tool to show all active contracts? That would be
So I know what you're saying, and that is so how do I say it? So this particular tool that we're trying to run is almost like a test case to see how we can do it. But I know what you're saying, and that there is a button that doesn't work to select active contracts. So that is like that's kind of one of the next things that Steven's gonna try to work on.
okay. That would be helpful.
Yeah, so that's on the, like, once we get through this one and get it, then we know how to do it. We're going to try to do some other updates like that, so you have more selection power within CS2 to find what you need.
Okay, thank you.
We do have a question in the chat. Who do we contact if they have questions about using survey 123? Do they contact Steven or somebody else?
Probably Steven would be your first point of contact there. So he created the form, so he'd probably be the fastest thing. But if you're and then I would contact your cost share person. We should be able to help too.
Mhm.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any other questions from folks?
One question. Does the 10-year monitoring period start when the contract is approved or when the practice is in?
It has to be completed because if it's approved, that doesn't necessarily mean that the practice is in place and finished. So once it's completed, then it can become an active contract.
We go by the payment
Just wanna
date.
make sure.
Yeah, we typically go by the payment date.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Gary, did you have another question or comment?
Yeah, John, how are y'all handling 1-year contracts with this new program?
So it could get selected if the timing was right. But they would be less likely, I guess, less of a chance it would get randomly pulled. So if you completed and approved like a 1 year and it was checkable, then it could wind up there. But that's also something, if you run into an issue with those, that's something that we would like you to like report back to us so we can figure out how to manage it.
Okay. I was
Like
just
if it's
wondering.
something you can't go look at, then we'll have to figure out how to fix that.
Okay, the only one that comes to mind right off is cover crop. Could be a 1-year contract.
Yeah, and there are some buffers that we put in to try to help that kind of like back it up a little bit so that you don't pull something that would be kind of on the line that would be questionable. So we tried to fix that, but yeah, if you do run into it, you know, I'd like.
All right. Any other questions, folks? Oh, hang on. Here's one in the chat. If the districts already has had their spot check contract selected, can they use that list, or do you prefer districts use the spreadsheet delivered by the division?
So the spreadsheet that we have is you know, it's optional and it's guidance at this point. So no, you're not required to use it. You're not, you know, to use that if you've already selected them. We do not want to slow you down or put anything out. What I would maybe suggest using is getting ours and comparing them and seeing, you know, if that matches up. So you know, if there's a chance that maybe you missed one, then that our tool might tell you, you know, show you something that you didn't have. So you could use it for validation or cross-checking or anything. But yeah, if you've already done your selection, you do not need to start over.
You guys are asking some really good questions. Awesome. All right. Anybody else?
John, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Is it the intent of the division to use this optional tool as mandatory, like for next year?
I don't think we're not there. As far as, well, I don't know if it'll be. I wouldn't even consider making it mandatory unless we knew it really worked. But the real goal we're working on here is to making sure we check everything we're supposed to check. And so we're not trying to take away that, you know, your ability to do that, but we're trying to offer as much as we can to make sure we hit the minimum requirements.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right. I do not see any more questions in the chat. So I think you guys are probably good, unless anybody wants to come off of mute. We're probably good to head on to the form site portion that you guys wanted to walk through.
Yeah, and if you've already seen the form site, it really isn't that different, but just in case you all have questions, I can just navigate to the website and stuff like that. So yeah. I will get it up now. Okay, so this is on the website right now. So if you go to cost share, like ACSP page through the program and initiatives, and you go to resources, it'll be under general program forms. And there's a whole section for spot checks specifically and the due date again. So this is the field form and instructions and the Word document version of that. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask them, but they're all in the same spot. And this will be the form site for this year. So you would just like select your district, and you have to make sure that you put in your number of contracts that were visited first, and it'll populate the next pages. And then you would put your, you know, name and email address, and then next. And then this will populate. So this is what I was talking about before, where it explains the requirements down here, and then also the compliance and maintenance definitions again. So you can refer back to it on every single contract that you do. And this is like a complete list, which is not what I showed you before. So that could be helpful as well. But this is just the general section. So you would go through and put in the date, the contract number, the supervisor contract information, if that's the case. And then you would put technical staff present. And you can keep adding people or subtracting people. And same with the supervisors. So you want to make sure that you have every single person that was present listed. That's important. And you select your program, and then this is the contract status, which means compliance, maintenance, or out of compliance. And you would just list the practice. And if it's multiple practices, you list them all in there at the same line. You can just use commas. And it's not required, but we do highly recommend and encourage photos. It's nice for us to have them, and it makes it easier to just see the practice in the field for us. So again, not required, but.
So can I add something real quick there on that one? So it's also really helpful if you have a really pretty looking project,
Yeah.
to especially give us a photo, because that's the kind of thing that we can use on the website and when we compile reports and things like that. So just keep that in mind when you're out in the field. Like, we would love to see what you have, and then, you know, provide us some photos we can use for marketing purposes.
Yeah, so it's just best practice, but and that's really it. You would just keep going through, and it would have a page for each contract. So you would just go through and do all your contracts and then submit it. And you can save and return also on all of these. So that might be a good idea if you're going to go back in and stuff like that. And if that's really all for the form site. There is, yeah, sorry, everyone. I should have put in dates and stuff before. But there is a table at the bottom.
Maybe it's the best.
Yeah, I'm going to change the number of contracts so we can make this a little quicker. Okay, so this is the bottom of the form, and this is basically just a summary of your spot checks. And this is just helpful for us to do numbers and stuff like that. So it's by program, and you would do total number of active contracts per program, the number of contracts you visited, and then the number of in compliance, out of compliance, and those needing maintenance. I track all of these and generally follow up to make sure that things are getting fixed and things like that. So this is really helpful for me to double check. And then this is just a little section of biosecurity. So if you're visiting animal operations, you might have to answer these questions, but that's really all. So this is just a summary. So it'd be all the same information for the most part. And there's instructions here also. So you want to make sure you tab and it will let you go. You can also just click them, but if you're on your phone or something like that, it might be hard to see in one table. So if you all have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any additional questions? Okay, well, I'm not seeing any of it in the chat. Did you guys have any last minute recommendations or comments, Shelby or John, that you wanted to share before we let people loose?
I don't think so. If anyone comes up with a question or needs help with something, you can just reach out to me or someone else on the cost share team and we'll try and figure it out. So
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining. You should receive a copy, potentially a link in your email of this recording, but we will also have it posted on the website. And yeah, so if you have any questions, like Shelby said, reach out to your cost share specialist and they will get you hooked up with the information you need. Thank you guys for joining in today, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Brandy.